What's up, y'all? This is Coach Lorraine Lindsay, and we are watching another episode of the Lipstick Ladies on the Mindsetters podcast. You know, we are going to close up our first series. It was just a 2-part series on fake friends, but we got past the fake friends part. Let's talk about what actually is most important, which is the circle. So forget about the fake friends. It's about the ones that we keep in the circle. And so I can't think of some of my closest circled friends, but these fabulous, lipstick ladies. And let's start with Miss Beautiful Charlize Ruiz.
Charlene Ruiz. Yes, that's me.
What did I say?
It's okay.
I'm such an idiot, Charlize.
She's got it. She's got it down.
I always fumble in the beginning, but it's whatever, yo. That's just how I go. Yeah, Charlene, you know.
I understood, yes.
Charlene. So Charlene here is a coach. She is a double-fisted coach, finance and fitness, right? And if you want to get in touch with Charlene, you can reach her on her Instagram, which is at sruiz.cmps. This girl is fabulous. She's all over the place. She's got it going on. And then, of course, we have my beautiful friend here, Miss Carmen Smith. Carmen Smith is also here, a coach as well as a realtor here in the Las Vegas Valley. She is killing in the real estate game. So if you are looking to sell or buy a home, get in contact with Carmen. You can reach her at Carmen Smith _realtor. That is her Instagram follow. And you'll see that stuff on the monitor as well. And then, of course, you have me, Lorraine Lindsay, Coach Lorraine Lindsay. I am the founder of the Mindsetters, and we are here to do this podcast. I'm a coach. I'm a mindset coach. I'm actually also a realtor as well. So if you need to find me, you can reach me at Coach Lorraine Lindsay. And let's get started, ladies.
Let's do it.
All right.
The circle.
All right.
Let's talk about the circle. All right.
Yes.
Where do we begin with this?
This is a good one.
What I am understanding about life is I remember when I was like younger and in high school, and it was always like a popularity thing, like how many friends you can have and who knew who. And luckily back then we didn't have all the social media to get obsessed about. But as I've gotten older, that I'm learning that it's all about quality over quantity. And the smaller my circle is, the better it is for me. But they are also examples of who I am. My mom used to tell me, if you show me your friends, I'll tell you who you are. And sometimes when I'm in a space in my life where I'm feeling, I don't know, like, where am I at? What am I doing? Where's my life going? Sometimes I have to take a seat back and really kind of pay attention to my circle because they're a representation of who I am. So let's start with
that's
that.
good.
What do you think about your circle, and what do you feel about your circle of friends?
Similar to you, I do step back, and sometimes I have to find what's my position. Am I here to teach, or am I here to learn? Because sometimes we bring people into our life to teach them, right? Because they want to learn. As a coach, that's kind of a natural thing that we do. To call him a friend in that circle of permanence, I suppose it's a little bit different. So to the circle of friends, there has to be an exchange. There has to be an exchange of value, an exchange of understanding, an exchange of energy, a purpose that's beyond just hanging out for me. There's that level of you just know.
I love that too. That's a good way of putting it, to say an exchange, right? Because I think that's one of the things where in relationships, kind of what we talked about in the last episode about fake friends, is sometimes the problem with certain friendships is that there's not this ebb and flow, this even exchange of give and give versus give and take. I've had a lot of give and take type relationships.
Yeah.
What about you?
Like we were talking earlier and saying, when you have a friend and you guys just mesh and it's a true friendship, you don't need to have you have an expectation of that person because you respect them. But it's not like, this is my expectation of you, Lorraine. You have to do this for me and I have to do that for you. It's a natural thing. So those, for me, people that I flow with like that, I consider that target. When you were talking about the target last week, it's like that center target, those are my people. And then it goes out from there. I have other people in my life that I bring around that we talk about business opportunities or, working out, and it's like, you just build that circle based on, and it's hard to define where they fit, but it's just like they organically go in different places.
Sometimes it's seasonal.
A lot of times it's seasonal.
Right.
But that doesn't change the love
No.
of the friendship. But sometimes, for example, being a young wife, a young mom, a lot of my girlfriends were not married and having children. So, but they're still my friends. We're just in a different season of life. So that's where you figure out your circle of friends. Does it mean closeness in that time, or does it mean that they're there no matter what?
I have a girlfriend. She, Corey,
Mhm.
and we're one of my besties, and we talk often. We don't hang out a lot, but I have a younger son too, but I'm kind of like a little more free than she is, and she's kind of like, doing the family life where I've done that. So it's not that we're not the same level of friendship. It's just like you said, our lives are in different places.
Mhm.
So, but that our friendship is so genuine, and there's never a question of why didn't you call me? Why
Right.
didn't you hang out with me? Why didn't you do this? We're just clear.
Right.
And I think too, words are interesting because it's all based on how we define what a friend is.
Mhm.
And often what I have found personally in some of the challenges in friendships is how we're defining it and also how we're showing up in it.
Mhm.
Right. And so for me, one of the things that I've learned when I'm looking at it as quality over quantity is, who am I first as a friend? How do I show up to the people in my life depending on who they are? Because the reality is I don't show up the same for
No.
everybody, because not everybody deserves that same type of show up
Exactly.
from me.
Mhm.
And when I define and create boundaries based on how I define it, I'm very clear on what friendship means to me. And so therefore, not everybody necessarily gets the title of a friend just because I associate with them.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think that when we make that clear, then we don't get as disappointed sometimes. And that's one of the biggest mistakes. Even when I talked about the fake friends, some of those fake friends that I was referencing were people that I didn't make it clear. There wasn't clear boundaries that we were actually friends. And a lot of those relationships were probably more so than more my acquaintances, or they just represented a thing in my life at that time. Whether it was just really, it was fun to hang out with them and have a good time with them, but maybe they weren't going to be my confidant and the person that I can trust when I was going through a painful time in my life.
Mhm.
And those lines got really blurred. And I think that's where a lot of the disappointment came from.
Right.
When I sit back and really look at it from that perspective instead of being in my feelings about it,
Mhm.
so which takes me to the next thing. My son, my wise son, who actually is going to be on the show in about a week. He's my little words of wisdom. I call him my life coach, right? He's just so smart and wise beyond his years. And one of the things that he told me was, Mom, you have to treat your friends like there's a doorman at the door. Like your life is the grand hotel, and there's levels to it. There's the lobby, there's the first floor, and there's the penthouse.
Yep.
And some people, the bellman is that you got to have the bellman to check them in, right? When you come through to the lobby, are you going to hang out in the lobby? Is this where I'm going to meet you? Or are you the friend that's coming all the way up to the penthouse? And I think for me, when he kind of put that in perspective, when I was struggling with a really good friend of mine, our relationship became very ambivalent, and I just didn't know what to do in that friendship. He said, "Well, what do you like about her, Mom? What do you enjoy about her?" And I was like, "Well, we love doing this and that." And he goes, "Well, then just do that. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to put
Everything.
more
Label on
into it
everything, yeah.
than what it is. You got to call a thing a thing,
Yes.
And that was very liberating for me
Mhm.
too, because it's like, oh, and not only can I just hang out with her that way, but I don't have to be more than that with her
Mhm.
either.
There's no expectations.
Right.
Yeah.
We just get to meet where we're at, and whatever level that is, we just, if it works for you.
It's that loyalty.
Yeah.
It's that thing we have inside of us that if we're bringing you in, it doesn't matter what level we're at. I'm bringing you in, so you get to go all the way up with me, right? But sometimes they're not ready for that, or it's not the right fit, and we have to learn those
Right.
things in life to realize that, because there's a purpose for everyone.
I agree.
I believe that.
And some people need to just go to a different hotel altogether.
I'm the worst person to cut somebody off. Like I will fight to the end, and like, but why? I'm learning. I'm getting better at it. But it's like it amazes me how quickly people can cut you out.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, and I don't understand.
A lot of it's just
No.
misunderstanding.
Yeah,
It's
but
lack of communication
like-
or miscommunication.
right.
Yeah, well,
the
give an
lack
example.
of-
Give an example.
Oh, well, like I shared last week, I just not being clear on certain friendships. And I can even give examples of, we talked about it in the car, more of relationship standpoints. We were discussing like how when you get into intimate relationships with people or your boyfriends or whatever you want to call it, and they're not your friend, but we're
Mhm.
expecting them to show up like our friends
Mhm.
because we haven't gotten to know them as a friend.
Mhm.
And then the disappointment of when they stop respecting that relationship because there was never a friendship established. So we put that expectation out there and it backfired, or as I would say, backfires, or like, wow, the first time I do something wrong and I'm the bad guy now, and it's just never reciprocated to me. I feel like I always give people the benefit of the doubt, and it's put my heart out there to be broken so many times. And friendship is so I really value my friends and I really love my friends and people that I bring into my life, that it matters so much to me that I don't understand how it can't matter to somebody.
Well, it's interesting too, because I actually think that I feel like we are much more forgiving of our friends than we are with our personal relationships. And I think it's because we put a heavier expectation, we put a heavier burden on our relationships than we do with our friendships. We accept our friends. We don't necessarily accept who our significant others are at times.
We're solidifying them by calling them that. So a
Right.
friend is, they have to still continue to give you that exchange.
Right. Well, because I mean,
You
I've
know?
had relationships that have ended because expectations were not met.
Yep.
But I'm like, that's the homie though. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if we were never together
Yeah.
intimately, I would never probably have had a problem with this person.
Yeah.
But you didn't serve me romantically,
Yeah.
but you served me as a friend. And I think sometimes even when you're ending a relationship, the hardest thing to part with is the friendship. And that makes it really painful sometimes, So I want to bring up this thing, which is, I hear this all the time when we talk about the circles and the people in our lives. I hear people always say, you got to be with like-minded people. It's important for you to surround yourself with like minds. I kind of have a problem with this, because if I'm in a space where I don't want to be, I certainly don't want to be around a bunch of other people who are in the same space
Right.
as myself, and so we have to be careful when we say, I want to surround myself with like minds, because it's important to have like-minded people in your life, right? Especially if you're clear on where you're trying to go in your life. But you also want to have level up people in your circle. People who will say, you know what, my friend has a lot of potential. My friend has dreams that they need to see come true. And I want to put that potential to work. And those are the friendships that sometimes we have a hard time finding those people or keeping them in our lives, because we'll be around a person who challenges us. And then you don't really want to be challenged. And then you're like, you get mad. You're like, they know everything. They're always telling me. I feel like they're judging me. And it's like, well, you got to be uncomfortable with people who are trying to level you up, right?
Absolutely.
And it's equally as important to have certain people that maybe aren't on your level, if they're willing to get there. You don't want them to
Exactly,
like drag you down, but you can't be so full of yourself that people can't be so-called beneath you. It's like, no, you got to balance it all out. So that way you can actually scale where you're at too, right?
And you can never be so like they're beneath me that you can never learn from a person. Like,
Right.
I surround myself with people from, family members, friends, whatever. And just because I enjoy them, as I shared, last week, I want to enjoy you, make money with you, not on you. I said on you last week. I'm sorry, but I want to make money with you and somebody I can learn from. So just because somebody doesn't have as much or doesn't have as much education or doesn't, do the things I do, doesn't mean I can't learn from them.
Right.
And vice versa. So I always want to surround myself with people like that.
Provided they're willing
Yes.
people.
But
Because I
every
think
friend doesn't
intention
have
has to be, and I don't mean willing to be like me or like us or
Yeah.
whatever, but I mean, I can be, it's very, there's a fine line, right? And I don't want to necessarily spend time or be around people who are that constant need, pull,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of depletes you and leaves you feeling like really drained. And then if you don't come through for them or do for them, then it's like the end of the world for them. And
Yeah.
how could you do this for me? And God forbid you need something from them. You know what I mean? So there is that balance, because I've certainly been the low man on the totem pole. Yeah, I always say every man's ceiling is another man's floor.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that in mind, I don't need to just be all leveled up and it just be me. I want to find out who's under, like who's the floor to my ceiling. You know what I mean? Like I need that person, because I want to see what their ceiling is. And for all I know, they might have vaulted ceilings. It might be all
Right.
kind of next level.
Right.
And it can be intimidating to have those kind of people in your circle, because they want you to show up. Friends of mine that I see that have a lot of potential, I'm cold. I'm hardcore friend. Like, I'm like, no, you're going to level up. This is what you're going to do, or you're out. You're out the circle. It's just that simple. Love you, but you're out.
She's the mean girl.
I am the mean girl. But it's with good intention.
Yeah.
You know, when I see potential in people, I love having them around me because it excites me and it gives me the energy. Like if there's an expression that goes, I'd rather have, what is it? Okay, hold on, let me get this right. I'd rather have ignorance on fire than intelligence on ice. Because sometimes when people don't know, but they're fired up and they see you and they're like, I admire you, or I love what you have to tell me, and they want to be taught, whatever.
Hungry.
When you teach, you learn. And so if you have those kind of friends where you're like, you know what? I love that excitement. I used to have that. And you know, come with me, help me do this, help me do that. And then you see them take off.
Yes.
Man, that in and of itself is great.
Yes. And that's what makes you a coach. That's what makes us all coaches.
Yeah.
Because we do that. It's a mentorship naturally that comes in some friendships, right? Relationships. So friendships, as I said last week, is that family foundation, right? That no matter what, you come back to it because there's that thing, right? So that could be whether you're leveling up, down, sideways. That's what a friend is, because you know yourself enough to know that they fit in your life. Acquaintances, now that's a whole nother story, as we're sharing here. Acquaintances are people that we could be coaching up, or people that are helping us at some point grow.
Right.
But that thing, we don't have that with them yet, or maybe ever. But that's the difference in my mind of what makes that circle the circle, and the outer circle. Not that they can't get in, but they just haven't earned that yet. You know.
So let me ask you ladies this. Has there ever been a situation in your life where you've had to completely just get rid of someone from the circle altogether? And why?
In high school, for sure. I don't think that really counts because I didn't know myself very well. You know, I was a lot younger, and I know more now. But as an adult, I don't know. I think for me, I know myself enough to know where I stand a lot. And if I don't know, I ask. I'm very much open about that because I do feel and I care. But I also care enough about myself to know what's good for me.
Yeah.
And knowing that, I pick up on energy very well. And a lot of times my picker's off. And I learned that lesson that I need to learn.
I love her word picker.
Picker.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
What about you?
Well, my picker is probably because I always lead with my heart first.
Aw.
So like I'm the type of person like I trust you till I can't trust you. You know, I give you that trust. So I've created my own, you know, sabotage maybe with that by trusting people too soon. But have I ever cut anyone off? I've cut people off that don't serve me well. As far as like really close relationships, friendships, I'm probably hardly ever the one because I care so much about it that I'm usually the one to get cut off.
Oh,
But it's okay. But I'm such a loyal friend in my mind, whether they see it or not, that I care so much about it that I want to communicate it out. I want to fix it. I'm a fixer. I want to fix it. And sometimes it's just not fixable. So
Right.
maybe that's a weird obsession that I have, or, you know, my own possessiveness or whatever, because I love the person.
do you ever feel like when you linger on a relationship that should be cut off at some point, that you start to feel like you're being mistreated though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course. And now it's not, now, like I said, it's not as hard, but those were challenges to get through that. You know, now I can say, this just doesn't serve me well. It takes from me. So I have to let it go. It's easier to let it go. But there's been a lot of times in my life where I'm the one to get let go of, and because I want to fix it.
Right.
There's
wanna
been a lot
just
of
be-
times when my pride didn't let me speak on what I felt as a younger person in my friendship. So if someone hurt me or I felt some kind of way, I wouldn't communicate it. I just sucked it up. And for that, but I'm friendly. You have friends, and then I'm friendly with everybody.
Yeah.
I love people.
Yeah.
There's that difference, right? But
Right.
if I call you a friend and you're able to hurt me,
Yeah.
but that was on me because I didn't communicate that, you know?
I'm just talking about people that I care. Like if I don't care
But if you're
about
deeming them a friendship,
Yes.
right, then it's
A
someone you care about.
friend, when I say you're my friend, it's like you matter to me.
Right.
So I don't use that term loosely. So the acquaintances, or, you know, I've been in the hair business for over 20 years. I know a lot of people that we hang out when we hang out, and it's great, and we have great conversations. You know, they're friends to that capacity. So
Mhm.
maybe I know how to compartmentalize
Yes.
the
Well,
friends.
That boundary, yes.
I will say I am a cut a person out of the circle real fast person. And I don't mess around with it. And I know people think I'm a cold piece, but where I see myself going and the vision for my life is so important to me. And I know how important that tribe is. And there are literally some people that I've had in my life, as much as I love them, I recognize my love is my abundance. I get to love and leave. And I have no problems doing that, especially provided that there is a conversation. I had a friend years ago when we were super, super, super close, like besties, okay? And we, I left we worked in the same, we met through our company, what we worked for, and we had similar positions. And I was blessed with an opportunity to move up, and that required me to leave the company. And in that time frame, I was building my career. And she was still doing the same job. And we were very close friends, but we weren't working at the same company. At some point, I was recruited to come back to that company with a higher position. And it didn't impact our friendship, but the time apart when we came back together and we would do our lunches and things like that. And she was very happy for me. I mean, this is not like a situation of jealousy or anything. She was very happy about my success. But what was happening is our conversation started to change. And she wanted to gossip and she wanted to be messy about people in the office. And I have a different position. And I questioned myself and said, wow, was that how I was before? And when I would, attempt of leveling up, saying, no, I don't do the gossip thing. It's not my thing, et cetera, it created a lot of tension between us. And it was, well, you think you're better than, and so it's no, I don't feel like I'm better. Well, you've changed. Well, yeah, I have. And it would be nice if you would. And so I was clear on that. And it got to the point where if I started to have new friendships with people who were doing the career that I was doing, it was a problem for her. And so she got jealous of people, my newer circle of people. And when I would try to bring her in, she became a problem. She became toxic to the new circle of people. And eventually I had to say to her, listen, I love you, but I got to leave you. You can stay where you're at, and I'm not judging that space, but it doesn't work for where I'm trying to go with my life. And that's no judgment on you. We were on reading from the same book at one point, maybe on different chapters, and now we're on to two different books. And I was clear on that. And so at some point I had to cut that relationship off because it got toxic. A good friendship can become toxic. And in that situation, I literally was like, she has to go. And ironically, recently, and this was years ago, and recently she came to me and wanted to have a conversation with me and kind of make amends. And I was very reluctant to open myself up to her because it was hard for me to let her go. And it was a very emotional decision. So I was very reluctant to let her back in. And I went with good intentions to let her back in, and she freaking betrayed me like no other. It was almost I almost felt like, did she do this on purpose? And then it became even that much more clear that the original decision that I made to remove her from my circle completely was the right decision. So
in your life, have you allowed people to get into your intimate circle quickly? I'm not a person that allows it.
No, I don't either.
No.
I'm very reserved with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
go
a safety
ahead.
nest, you can hurt me, but you can't go there. You're not going to go there. Nobody's going there. That's me and God, that's that kind of depth, or me and my husband, or me and my daughter. But there's still that that hurts, and I think to your point, the better we know who we are, the less we have those types of friends. That's just, we can pick them. We can see it. We can feel it. We know. And the more we know where we're going, the less tolerance we have for that. But everybody serves a purpose.
Correct.
We all do.
And she certainly served a purpose. And there were some really great things, and I had some great, beautiful memories with her. But I think to your point, Charlene, it's like when you are clear on where you're trying to be in your life, there are certain things that you have to get in alignment with. And if you fall out of alignment with that, it throws you off.
Yes.
And if you and I'm just like, again, clarity is power, and so where I'm at and who I want to be, need to be, and must be, my tribe, I can't do it alone. And so my tribe is very, very important to me. And so I have no problem cutting a person out.
how important is it to you to have those types of conversations with a tribe? Or is it just something that's unsaid and just no?
No, for me, communication's key.
Yeah.
It is essential. It is a necessity. It is a must. And I'm straightforward. I'm very blunt about conversations, and again, me and her joke about it all the time because I don't always have the best approach, and I'm very clear on that, and I work on that because I'm very like, sometimes I'm too businessy and I'm too chop, and I'm too intense about my intention, that my delivery is very strong. And what I'm learning in this season of my life is that I have to nurture friendships differently and try to be a little softer sometimes in my approach. But my tribe will get me. I need my tribe to get me.
It should be. If people are your true friends, they should care enough to get you.
Right.
Like, you can't take everything you say personally.
Yeah.
Like, come on now.
No, offense
Right.
is not.
Yeah, like,
that's not. Yeah.
Just because you said something harsh, like, go cry a river, who cares? You know what I mean? Like,
Or if they're friends enough to you to say,
Yeah.
"Hey, girl," that
Like,
kinda
back off,
step
yeah.
out of bounds. Like, what did you mean by that? Let's talk about that.
Right.
You know, that's important too. I can be pretty forward and blunt too. I've just learned how to simmer down. a lot,
Right.
You know, and that's
Right.
just, you just adapt and you grow from that.
Right.
I feel like I have this split personality because I lead with my heart. I have all this love to give, and then it's like I'm a cold piece too. Like,
She can be a cold
and I'm
piece.
when, like I said, my set of friends, I care so much, but like if you're like on the outskirts, I really don't care too much.
And also
you know?
knowing what kind of value you bring, like having
Right.
confidence in who you are, that's important to know too, because you can't change what you tolerate.
Yeah.
I mean, you either you do or you don't, and that's it. And if you meet somewhere and it's real, you'll know it's real. Maybe it takes a little bit longer to figure that out.
I think you just said something key. You're going to say something.
No, go ahead. And I'll
No, I actually, I think you just hit that right on the nail. It's do you know who you are and what you bring to the table? See, I'm clear on the friend that I am. I have a standard of who I am and how I show up for my friends. If I call you a friend, you are a friend. And that's period for me.
Yes.
So that's my standard. And if you, on too many occasions, I give grace more than people realize. But if you cross the line with me too many times, when I know who I am, you're out. It's just that simple. Because I come to you with value, and I know my value to you.
Amen.
And I give it to you, and I show up every single time. And if you don't extend that back to me, if it's not reciprocated, time and time again, you are out.
Yep.
And I will not look back. I will not pass go.
And think about how that shows up in every other area of life.
Yes.
Right.
You know, the more value we know we have, the more confidence we are in everything. It starts with self. And
Right.
It goes into our intimate relationships, then our friendships, you know. It starts with faith first, I should say, and then itself, and then romantic and friendships. And that's that circle too. The more confident we are in who we are, everything else
That's that self-love.
Yeah,
I tell
totally.
people, like, one of the things that I'm most confident about, my greatest accomplishment, is myself as a mother. I know that I did a great job with my son. I am so proud of myself, and I'm so proud of him. So if a friend were to come to me as an example and say to me, wow, you're such a great mom, I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate the acknowledgement, but I don't need it because it's something I already know. And I think that is important across the board in everything about our lives in general, not just friendships, but relationships. A man, and if I'm in a relationship with a man and he tells me, well, I'm doing this and this and that, you can't tell me what you're supposed to do. I appreciate it, but it isn't the rite of passage because I know what I know about myself. The compliments don't matter. I appreciate it though.
Yes.
But it's already a knowing that I have,
Correct.
if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't need that extra validation.
Yeah, I just appreciate it, and likewise, it's reciprocated as well. So you were gonna say something?
I kind of forgot.
It's
I think I was going to
flattering.
ask.
It's
Do
flattering.
you guys,
you know?
okay, so
Yeah.
do you guys have any relationship in your life that you need to cut ties with?
Ooh, that's a
Not
good
even
question.
just friendship, just business partners, relationship.
I've done a lot of cleaning throughout the years, to be honest with you,
Mhm.
you know, and who I choose is on purpose.
That's a good question.
Yeah, but it is something I have to think about. If I have to think
Yeah.
about it, that means
That's
it's
good.
not really in my face, you know. I mean, every now and then, my husband, I feel like I need to, you know, but, you know, other than that, you know, yeah, no,
I will say that I'm with you, Charlene. I think recently I've been going through a lot of emotional transitioning in my life recently, where I've gotten a lot of clarity, but with that clarity comes a lot of pain and hurt.
Mhm.
And I try my best to use my pain and my hurt as leverage for the next level that I need to be in my life. And so I just kind of embrace it. And so with that and those understandings, a lot of pain and hurt, we only feel those things when we're getting it from other people. And we're only getting it from other people because we've given them the privilege of creating those emotions for us, because we're deciding that, right? And so one of the things in this circle conversation is it can feel lonely, right? Because when you're cleaning house and you're ready to level up in your life and do things different, it's not to say that those people aren't good enough. And it isn't to suggest that, oh, you're better than me and you got to eliminate me. But sometimes you just have to put people on the sidelines there, and it can feel very lonely. So to answer your question, I think recently I've really just cleaned house. I really have. And it's a lonely place. I'm on an island now, but that island is like a good space to start, because it's a foundation. Now I get to build from that. What about you, Carmen? I'm for sure you do.
Well, I love because
She's so
that
sweet.
loneliness, like this weekend we had this like slumber party and we spent
Right.
all day together yesterday.
Aw.
It was like, we have each other.
Right. I'm like,
That's awesome.
We'll just do it together.
well, you too. You were with us
You
hanging
were with
out
us
too.
Friday.
So
But yeah, I spent the night at her house and we had coffee
But that's
and
what
brunch.
girlfriends do.
Yeah, but it was
Right.
like
Yeah.
we sat from 1:45 to like 8:30 in the restaurant. We're so lonely.
I love
listen,
Wait.
loneliness is a state
Wait.
of mind. I was very content.
I was
right?
very, I'm just,
Right.
I'm just,
Right.
I'm just
Yeah,
making
I
a
know.
joke. But anyways, I'm trying to be lighthearted.
You were
here.
serving each other.
We were serving
Right.
each
Yeah.
other,
Exactly.
yes, because
Yes.
we both have to have cleaned house, right?
Right.
So, do I have anybody to cut off? Maybe one person, but
Without maybe.
Is there a difference between cut off and let go in your mind?
I think there is a difference. And I think some people, it's a not right now.
Mm-hmm.
I love you, but not right now. And then there's some people that it's
put
just
them on
straight
ice.
up.
Put them on
Bye.
ice.
Yeah.
Yeah. A long friendship of mine, he's been very disrespectful to me and kind of abusive with words, and I'm just not appreciative of it right now, and I don't have space for it in my life. But the side of me that loves and cares about this person, because we've been friends for so long, it's a little bit of a struggle. But I kind of there's no purpose for it in my life where I'm at right now. There's none.
Something
serve
you
me.
said earlier too. You said you can love and leave.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
tough.
Yeah.
It is
That's
hard.
tough because in my mind, I think we don't know if we're here tomorrow. I don't want that to be the last memory I have, but
Mhm.
we're choosing how we remember that. We're choosing how we believe that to be, right? So love and leave, it connected with me because that's hard.
But when leave just like putting it like just I could love you from a distance. We don't have to talk every day.
But when I,
I don't
love
have
you,
to.
for me is
when
to
I love
leave.
you, there's a part of
There's
me that
like-
wants to I want to be involved in your like.
Yeah.
That's the kind of love I feel.
Well,
Maybe
I'll-
there's different types of loves to
So
that,
I'll
you
say
know?
this: when I say love and leave, listen, I am not obsessed with mortality.
Mhm.
It's inevitable.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't put too much emphasis on it. Oh, if this person dies, no, they're gonna die.
Mhm.
Period.
Yeah.
So am I.
Mhm.
Period. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's be real. If I'm loving you and leaving you, I know that I've poured everything I had into you. I gave you my all.
Mhm.
So if you drop dead the next day, and I don't mean to be so harsh, there's no guilt here.
That's good.
I'm
That's
at peace.
That's
We're
strength.
gonna die.
Yeah.
I can't obsess with people who are mistreating me and trying to
Mm-hmm.
fiddle fart and make it work.
Right.
It's like, no, I'm clear. I love you. And that's my abundance. And that's the one thing that you can't take from me. I get to love you, but I got to walk away.
Mhm.
And things are going to happen.
Mhm.
I might die. You might die. We will die. That can't be the obsessive thing to
Right.
keep people that are toxic in your life
The
in
grief
your
we
life.
choose to have in our
Right.
life.
I guess the leaving part doesn't have to be cold. It could just
Yeah.
be love and leave, meaning
It's pouring. Me leaving says I've poured into you.
Mhm.
I've had conversation with you. I've attempted to have conversation with you. I love you. But the way you are treating me is unacceptable for my
Mhm.
life. And we teach people how to treat
Mhm.
us. And sometimes the best lesson you can teach them is to walk the hell away.
Mhm. Oh, that's
Period.
good.
I'm so cold,
Yeah,
right?
no, you're being real.
It's
I
the
wanted you
truth.
to interpret that love
Yeah.
and leave. That was good.
But we
That
we
makes
do.
sense.
We choose grief
Mhm.
sometimes. We choose it. We choose to keep it around. We choose people who give us grief. And there's grief that happens naturally that
Right.
we have no control over. So why do we choose toxic people, or why do we choose to keep them in our
We
lives?
were
It's the
just talking
truth.
about that.
Yeah, I know that's why I
Yeah,
brought
no,
it up.
no, no, it's perfect. No, but it's so relevant. We were just sharing about that, and I said, you know, especially we're at the latter stage of our
Mhm.
lives. We're in the younger part of that ladder, but we're still on the ladder, right?
Yeah.
And grief is going to happen. People are going to start passing away. I literally went to a funeral Friday, and I went to a funeral Friday before people passed away. And we're at that stage in our life where that's going to happen more often, unfortunately, until it's our turn.
Mm-hmm.
And why not reserve the grief to mourn people who leave our lives in that way? Rather having so much grief in our life for choosing relationships that cause grief.
Mm.
I don't need that. I'm going to
Mhm.
reserve that to mourn people who pass away. Period. You
Yeah.
know, I'm clear on that
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It's so much work and energy, and
Yeah.
it just
And it throws
distracts
you off your game.
Yeah.
It's like,
So to clarify, love and leave doesn't mean that it has to be cold. I mean, you're choosing yourself first is what you're doing.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it can't be cold, because if the other person doesn't want you to leave, it's going to feel cold.
I
You
think if
know?
the other person
Yeah.
doesn't want you to leave, it can be a conversation. It can be worked out,
Right.
and they just have to go in a different part of the circle. But I think when I've left, it's because it's beyond a conversation, and the conversation has been had already.
Mm.
So you know what I mean? I don't think you have to take people out of the circle if they want to be in it. You just have to put them in a different space.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
If they're
it's
willing
not,
to do the work with you.
right. So if the other friend, not you, your friend, they're not ready for you to leave their life, but you've had the conversation. You've said, you're toxic to me. I got to cut
And
you off.
that's happened to me before, where we had the conversation and the friend was like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize this was what I was doing. And I said, okay. And we proceeded to the friendship, and they just couldn't help themselves. It was just who they were. And I said, listen, I love you, but I can't do this. I love you. If you ever need me, like really need me, if there's a crisis, I will be there. 100% I'll be there for them because I still love them. But I don't feel good being with you. And it got to the point where I didn't like them anymore.
Mhm.
And then I feel like if I don't like you and I hang out with you, I'm fake too. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to be a double standard here.
Mhm.
All right. So,
So it'll
Mhm.
always be a little cold then.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm cold piece. Listen, cut them out.
Unless you're just so clear that there's no hurt to that.
I'm just
I mean-
clear on intention for my life.
Yeah.
I'm clear on where I want to go. And I don't have time to waste
Yeah.
anymore. And so
Mhm.
my tribe, I need my tribe. It's so important that
Mhm.
when I'm feeling down, I'm feeling discouraged, that they're there to uplift me or to let me be the shoulder to cry on, and that I can be that for them too. And if it's all this pettiness and BS and nonsense, you got to
Yeah.
go, man. You
Mhm.
got to go.
Mhm.
So let's conclude. I think this is a good way to wrap it up. Next week, or the next time we get together, ladies, we're going to dip into maybe relationships on the more intimate side, because I think that people love to
The
talk
juicy-
about that stuff. Yeah. or maybe not. We'll see. But how do you want to close this, Miss Charlene, about Circle? What's your closing thoughts on your
Well,
Circle?
as you open it, what you put in is what you get out, right? So
Mhm.
that's just life in general. Who we show up being is what we'll attract, but we have to be clear on who we are so we can see when that attraction's off, when the people that shouldn't really be there hold a space that's not theirs. So that's what I take from all this.
So
Carmen.
circles. I'm actually really happy with my circle right now because I don't have a lot of people in it.
Mm.
And I think it's pretty solid. The kinks were removed, so it's good.
And it's good. That's
She had some
important.
kinky friends.
The kinks they're all gone.
Yeah. She did hair for 20 years for a reason, guys.
Yeah.
right. For me, I think friendship, and this is how Coach Lorraine talks, right? But I believe that the first most important friendship you have to have is with yourself.
Mhm.
And I think that when you extend a friendship to yourself, then the right type of friendships will gravitate towards you. Because when you're clear with who you are, you're clear with who you stand with.
Mhm.
So that's how I look at it, simply
Yeah.
put.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Absolutely.
ladies, thank you.
Yes, of
Thank you
course.
guys once again for listening to the Mindsetters podcast with my beautiful lipstick ladies. Again, you can look below at our names if you want to reach out to us. We will be going live eventually. And with that, we would love feedback, your opinions, what we want your take on the stuff that we're talking about. We don't want to just hear ourselves speak. We
Right.
want to hear from you. So thank you again. And we're out.
Bye.
Bye.
That was good.